Abyssal Stages are a unique and newer challenge. The concept of them is that you beat a stage multiple times to get a reward, and these are no small rewards either. By the 4th and 5th clear of these stages, you can get 3 dark cat subs, a very great reward. However, these stages have multiple challenges. One is that you not only have to beat it multiple times, but you cannot use the same unit twice, making it much harder to reach that far. And if somehow you beat it 10 times, the rewards will be able to be claimed again. These stages are also no laughing matter. These stages are the same as some deadly boss events. Now, however, this is a challenge for most endgame players, so you either may not be visible to you yet, or it may take everything you have just to beat it once. However, this video may still be useful if Bonus makes easier Abyssal stages in the future. I will cover 3 types of strategies to beating these challenges. The first strategy, bring many similar ability units. This allows us to have them all benefit from the same combos. So if you bring a couple of units strong against the boss's trait, then give them a couple of strong upcat combos, it will allow them to do much more than they could without. This also works well with resistance and weaken. This strategy is good for people whose units aren't the strongest. Combos give them the help they need most of the time. Remember, combos are very helpful. Always try to get units revolved around those combos you have. It makes a difference. It also helps as a bonus, because sometimes these units are good, but only versus a target trait, but they're also in a combo too, so you can make good use of that. Strategy 2. Carefully choose your units. Some units may mess up the other attackers you have, or maybe they're too slow or too fast, messing up your defensive line. Everything matters in these challenges. So watch who you're choosing and what they do, how they'll affect your guys. It's very important. You want to get all 10 clears. So if you're trying to get all 10 clears, you might want to balance the team. Maybe you'll have 10 strong units, put 5 and 5 in a loadout. Maybe 3, 3, and then maybe 4. Depending on the boss and the combos you have. However, if you have a bunch of units with resistance, it may be wise to disperse them throughout your loadouts. Maybe if the boss, you don't have any good tankers, maybe you could have one really solid tanker per loadout, something like that. They'll bolster your defenses, and yeah, it all depends on the boss, because some bosses will punish tanks and stuff like that. It all depends on your collection and how much you kind of value the units you have. Strategy 3. Think marathon, not a race. And what does this mean? You don't have to defeat a boss quickly or cleanly. If you have Cyberpunk or Sniper, these units can make a difference, and even sometimes, depending on the boss, they can be a win condition, just stalling, using them to slowly chip down the boss. And the goal is to be as cheap as possible, using the least valuable units as possible, and later on that will allow us to use our stronger units and save them for when they're really needed, instead of bringing them to a stage that they're good at, but they're not exactly necessary to be used in. So, recap these 3 points. So, 1 is we can make terrible units good with combos, and also boost your team in general so you don't need as many units. 2, we can have a properly balanced loadout, maximizing the value of each unit by assessing their value, when they're needed, if they're needed, and if we can use a worse unit in their place for now, and then use a stronger unit when we don't have those units to fill them in, or have those same combo strength. And 3, you can try a strategy, maybe it might be a little bit slower with Cyberpunk, and even though these are slow, sometimes it takes really long to beat them. It is a very, very good strategy for this, because it allows us to still take down the boss, but also then all of a sudden maybe we'll have an extra 2 Ubers that we can now spare, rather just having wasted 2 of them when we didn't need to. just because we took it a little bit slower. We didn't have to burst them down with a few thousand damage. Instead, we just let them all just kind of just slowly get whittled down. And like I said, even though it's kind of slow, sometimes it's necessary, especially if you don't have the most amount of units. Yeah, so yeah, that's my video right there. I hope you enjoyed. This is was just universal way, because I noticed a lot of people would post how they beat it, but then oftentimes they would use like collaboration units or units that most people didn't have, or maybe like Ubers that I didn't have or other people didn't have. So this is kind of a better way, I think, to do it. Instead of telling people, okay, this stage I'm gonna bring this, this, and this, and you have to make shift and make do. Sometimes it doesn't work. Better to do it and assess it yourself. If you are making your loadout, you know what units you have. You know what unit works better than what a YouTuber made.